on a walk in my hometown. Not for long. I feel like I never fully committed to this as my hometown, except maybe online, where I was like wanting to be part of the let's put Grand Haven, Michigan on the map. It went through a phase like that, this town. They were winning a bunch of like national awards, like best place to retire and all these things, best seaside village. Anyway, but we're looking at houses and looking to move, and I'm excited to start the next chapter. But yeah, happy to do it with a feeling of love for Grand Haven. That's a topic I'm working on, is you don't have to run away from things in order to move towards something new. If you just really feel called or inspired or moved to move. Putting down my coffee. This bench was just here, which I thought was cool, at the top of this really big hill. About to go down another hill, and then up another hill, and then I'll be at the beach. I could bring you with me, I guess. Just trying to get a workout. Okay. So, trying to walk as close as I can to 10,000 steps a day since starting Noom. They said they like to gradually get you there so you don't burn out, but ever since I realized that was the goal, I was like, oh, thank you, someone's saying I'm allowed to just walk for hours a day. Which is kind of what I had always wanted to do, but I think some part of me thought that wasn't a good enough workout. But you know what? Anything is better than talking yourself out of a thing that's not good enough. And maybe this does correlate to songwriting. Hold on, I gotta switch hands. I'm plugged in. Okay, here we go. To like one of those chargers. So this does correlate really well, because the chill in the air is giving me like a look like I have blush on. So in the old days, before I started releasing, an album a month in the 12 albums in 12 months challenge, I made it up myself, but whatever, or a song a day in the 365 songs in 365 days challenge. Before I started doing that, I wouldn't release anything. Nothing was ever good enough for me. And when I did slave over an album for a year and a half with like a really nice producer who donated all this time for me, like, I made it into such a huge deal, and I like edited it like crazy with him to try to get it absolutely perfect. But then what I didn't know how to do perfectly was marketing or release schedules or anything. I knew nothing. Like, you don't send it to a label after you've released it. There's so many things I did wrong that I didn't know. I didn't know what the process looked like. It's not something I was versed in, but anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I was always looking for perfection. How can I do this right? Because I had such big goals and big dreams, and in hindsight, a lot of that was just pride. Like, I had been told either that I would be fill in the blank, something, some big deal, or that I should be or could be based on my talent mixed with my skill. And the thing is, like, that's a lot of pressure for a child to take on. I know kids all over the world right now have that kind of pressure on their minds and in their hearts. They feel like one particular family member or friend or, a coach at school or somebody thinks they could be the fill in the blank, an Olympian or, the next big Broadway star or something. And if one person says that, but it's a person whose opinion you value, you might really work hard to try to achieve that dream, and everything that falls short of that might make you feel like a failure. It's like this whole shoot the moon, and even if you miss it, you land among the stars thing. And so it is maybe motivating and inspiring to have big dreams, but you kind of have to know that, like, no one's going to be mad at you if you try and you don't make it there. Like, those are 0.00001% of people make it to those insanely bigger than life goals. But meanwhile, there are regional theaters. There are athletic coaches all over the country and world. There are jobs and opportunities to shine in less insanely promoted in this global way. Global anything is a new thing. This YouTubing, it's a new thing. This is like new science. In the old days, you weren't a global phenom just for existing. Like, even someone like Mark Twain writing books and stuff, it's not like they were famous while they were doing it. And it's not like Mark Twain was like going online. It's not even his real name, but it's not like he's like going online or going on the newspaper and like reading about himself constantly, noticing whether or not people are paying attention to him for his work. That's insane. This is a new concept. You're doing nothing wrong if the world is not paying attention to you. There is no capital T, capital W, the world. It's all in our heads. It's in your mind. It's a concept, and it's a new concept. This is new technology, and you are just one tiny little peon of a being, and that shouldn't be something that makes you feel bad, even though it probably is. Anyone who has big dreams or big talents or big hopes, or same with like charities, you know, or like say you want to like help the homeless or something. A lot of people who want to like do some big noble thing or like help with climate change, they're not satisfied with doing it at the local level because we've been fed these ideas of global everything. And I'm not even saying that's wrong. It's just that one person can't do global things. A few people might be put in the spotlight, but those people, if they're honest, are supported by a massive team of people. And they may be the ones sort of falling on the sword for the cause and taking the good or the bad press, the bad or the good press, I should say it that way. But, you know, it's these are not realistic goals for one tiny human in feet. You know, you have feet. You live in one place. My place is Lake Michigan. I wrote a really sad song about it in 2016 for Cloudlight. I almost never smoke weed, but it is legal here in Michigan, but I do it very rarely because it gives me too intensive experiences. But it was the first time I had written a song after smoking weed, as far as I know. I mean, I did it a little in college too, but whatever. Okay, anyway, my point is, and I wrote this like really honest, really sad song about how I thought I'd be someone, quote unquote, be someone. Like, what is that? What is that toxic poison that we are all, maybe not all, but a lot of people, you know, maybe you felt like a misfit in your family. Maybe the solution when you were in your late teens or 20s was to think, not necessarily I'll show them, but maybe just a feeling of, they just didn't understand me. They didn't understand that I was a fill in the blank, a writer, a poet, a dreamer, a misfit, a maker, an artist, a slow living expert, a person who wants to live off the grid on a farm. Like, fill in the blank with literally anything that's a little bit unconventional. And it's just like the problem with doing it in that way where it's like compared to a community is then you might think you have to prove something. You might think it has to look a certain way, but it doesn't. Rant over. Feeling in my feet. Sometimes when I get really excited like that, I almost have what feels like an internal frown. And then all I have to do is remember to kind of take all that wonderful energy that's starting to sound a little frowny and just kind of, it's almost in the back of my head. It feels like something elevating in the back of my head. It kind of comes up the back of my head from like the base of my neck and it moves upward. It's probably too much information, but that's where the energy feels. It feels like something turning a frown upside down to like smiling, but it just feels like, oh yeah, Jess, this exact same topic, you could take this exact topic and spin it to something that makes me not stressed, makes me not feel like I have to prove anything or teach anything to you person who I've probably never met and never will. But instead I can just take this exact topic, breathe it in, be grateful that I learned it, be grateful that this is what is true, be grateful that the pressure is off, that there's no thing to do other than what I'm doing. And that's true for you too. And you can do more if you want to, but you do not have to. Especially if you're trying to be someone kind of artistic. Not even trying to be, especially if you just feel a vibe with artistic things. Like, the worst thing you can do for that is try to like control or define that, I think. You have to kind of be willing to let the muse flow through you. And then you just have to refine your instrument. And I would imagine that's true in athletics, academics, you know, you have to do the studying. You have to keep your body in shape. Whichever thing it is for you, you have to keep your mind in shape. You maybe have to practice rhyme scheme and do exercises or sit at the desk every morning like a lot of writers do. Show up every day for those few hours or whatever it may be, whatever your practice is. Like these songwriting videos slash vlogging videos. I'm deciding to stop calling them YouTube videos because I'm not trying to promote a brand. So songwriting videos and this vlogging that I do. Oh yeah, I was not going to use the word vlogging. That's another weird, I don't like catchphrases either. I don't like things invented and made popular that then also go out of style. I call this video journaling. I have journaled since I was a kid. This is just my video journal because you can't really write and walk or write and drive. So I started doing this. And also, in the old days, if I were journaling and then it turned into lyrics, then I later had to try to capture the music, unless there was like a jolting moment in the middle of journaling where I jumped up and grabbed an instrument. So now I video journal more than I journal, or about equal, because these I share online, and sometimes I just like it to feel private, and sometimes I just like the feeling of a pen in my hand. Well, there's some thoughts for you. I'm feeling a little bit inspired to tie them up with a little bow and give them a tidy little ending, like you can be yourself here. Artists have to flow. It's one thing to be talented, it's another thing to be skilled. Don't get the two confused. I don't even know who I'm talking to. If you're like a young person and you need these kind of inspiring thoughts, I hope they help you. It's taken me over 20 years to collect all of these from all the different spiritual books I've read and creative books I've read on writing and writer's block and, you know, being an artist, all that. But mostly spiritual books, I would say, or like books on dealing with emotions and stuff. I don't know. So they're all just mixed together and boiled into one little soup in my brain. My lucky number is 212, and that's the boiling point, so maybe that's it. Maybe that's my gift, is to mix everything together and then in one little burst of a word vomit kind of explode it back outward onto the world. Sunset coming up. I feel kind of sad in a lot of ways too. I don't know, maybe I don't. Anyway, that lovely feeling of taking something that could make me sad. Like, you can take the exact same topic. I'll use what I was just ranting about as an example. And so I could end this video if I were someone who wanted to live in more sadness. Sorry, my mittens are really cumbersome right now. Let me see if I can get them in my pocket. I can. Okay. So if I were someone who wanted to live in the sadness anymore in my life, then I could say that, and that's what's messed up about the world, and the world is ruined because we're all just gonna chase fame, and not everybody can have global fame, not even 15 minutes of global fame. It's just not possible. There's too many billions of us, and maybe not everybody wants that kind of attention, but for the people who feel put on this earth to do something that's performance related, like I chose, when I was choosing my degrees in music, I think I had a choice between composition, which you would think I would have chosen. So composition, education, music education, music composition, music education, I think there was one more, and then music performance. Guess what I chose? So I always think I'm not a performer just because I've wrestled with anxiety in my life, but I'm very much a performer. So this thing that I do is essentially a performance. I've turned my life into a performance, and I break into song at any moment I want. It's a cool car. You're about to walk past the most beautiful beach on the planet. Maybe not. There's so many beautiful beaches. I've liked so many places in my life. I have loved Grand Haven, Michigan enough to act like its travel guide the first 2 or 3 years I lived here. I think about 2 years into living here, I kind of knew it wasn't the place that I would land forever, and I kind of knew that a little too strongly early on, so it made my next few years a little awkward, but I'm glad that we stayed as long as we did, because there's some cool things that happened that wouldn't have happened. I'm oversimplifying, and I'm trying to make myself feel something I maybe don't feel, so don't do that. I don't know why I'm doing that right now. Awkwardness, probably. Anyway, back to the other thing. Well, and you don't have to like be happy about something, but in order to feel happiness, you do have to accept it. So I do accept that I have lived here for 5 or 6 years now. Whether or not it's where I had wanted to settle, it is where I wanted to settle because I wanted to be with Brian. He is like, I feel like I found a literal diamond in a coal mine. And I'm not trying to call this whole place a coal mine, but maybe in a way it was a coal mine to me. It was not where I felt I belonged at all. And I felt that so strongly by about 4 years ago that staying here started to become very painful for me, like a mental exercise. And I've done the same thing before by staying with like people that I knew I didn't belong with. Whereas this was the opposite. Like I knew I belonged with this person. I felt it very strongly, but I just didn't feel like I belonged in this place. And I should be letting you have the experience of walking to the lake. It's not capturing very well on here, so I'll just keep talking. Anyway, but acceptance is really the key to a lot of things. Like even the fact that I'm just taking control of my eating habits and trying Noom after trying 6 different diets and eating plans and approaches to health, veganism, all kinds of things. I've tried so many things in the last year, and I'm just accepting. I keep having to accept that whatever I tried didn't work, and it's depressing, and that might make me want to just not try anything else, but then I try another thing once I get over myself, or that makes it sound like I'm against myself. Once I get over my sadness. It's sad. It's very sad when you try something and it doesn't work. Or you try to make something work and it doesn't help or make it any better. So, I think that's another big thing I've learned in the last few years is like, there's really no other choice. You either keep getting up or you stay down, and you just have to ask yourself which life you want to have. Do you want to have a life where this was the moment that put you down forever and now you're just going to give up? Or do you keep feeling the next day's sunrise in your heart? Like, yes, you may have to endure a lot of pain, sunsets, and you're like, I can't make this metaphor work. Anyway, it's beautiful. Okay, it's cold here. My hand is cold. It's colder by the lake by like a lot. I've grown to love the woods a lot more than I used to when I was younger. Look at that sky. I'm not really at sunset yet. It's still way up in the sky. But it's pretty. Anyway, people are like, I think going in the water or something. It's crazy. Well, I think I want to pay attention to my walk now. Maybe I'll just sit here for a second. Whew. Sunset. I got lost in all the different things I was trying to randomly preach and teach to whoever's listening, but I need my mittens. I wish you luck. Oh, I was just telling you about the thing of like converting your mindset, how I learned or began to do that, but I think I'll save that story for another day. Well, have a great day. Bye.